Hey, it's Yobachi on BlackPerspective.net, and you're watching last week on BlackPerspective.net. I didn't do the last week's roundup last Sunday because just wasn't able to get to it, but I'm back again with you this Sunday, so let's get right to it. This time I'm going to do something a little bit different than the way I normally do it. I'm going to start with the last post and work my way backwards to the earlier post from the week. Well, the most recent post on BlackPerspective.net is the Beauty of the Month that we do every month, and this week's BlackPerspective.net Beauty of the Month was D Woods. I did a preview of it in my last video. Do a review for you real quick. Now you have to go to the website to check out the rest of the photos and info on that. Going back on to the post I did on Thursday, it was actually a video post entitled From A-Rod to A-Fraud to A-Roid, Alex Rodriguez and Steroids in Baseball. Play a clip for you of that real quick rather than you having to listen to me talk about it. So Alex Rodriguez has gone from A-Rod to A-Fraud to A-Roid. Personally, I just think he's an a-hole. And what really gets me also is, if you're going to say you're sorry for something and take responsibility for it, you can't take responsibility and then spend the next couple of minutes every time you say you're sorry and take responsibility, spend the rest of your time retracting it and saying why it's not your fault and why what you did was okay. Either you're sorry and you're responsible, or you're not responsible. You see, you can't take responsibility and not be responsible at the same time. After that, the article before that was Dancing with the Devil. Former Bad Boy artist writes tell-all about Diddy. This is about Mark Curry, who was on with the Bad Boy Records for like 7 years, even though he never put out an album. Anyway, he wrote an interesting book about his experience there and how Puffy Daddy Diddy Doody, whatever his name is, treats his artists and basically how he games them, which is pretty evident to anybody who's paid attention. You can look at all the artists that he's run off the label. Nobody ever leaves very happy with very much money. The Locks kind of came out publicly. They were the one entity who actually came out publicly and kind of said what was going on a little bit. But even they, in order to get out of the contract, had to sign a non-disclosure agreement where they couldn't really talk about what happened there. But none of his artists really make it past a couple of albums. Really, real quick, name an artist that's been with Bad Boy for many years and has become a mature artist and is still around since the 90s. Name one. Name one. Exactly. All right. So that's what that's all about. Check out the article about his book. I also have a radio interview that was done with Mark Curry talking about it. It's real interesting. I'd peep game. You can also read the first chapter of the book online. So if you go to blackperspective.net, you can get the link that takes you to that first chapter. The post previous to that one was, will we get voting rights for Washington, D.C.? If you're not familiar, Washington, D.C. doesn't have an elected representative in Congress at all whatsoever. It's not a state. It's just a city that's considered a federal territory. But nonetheless, there's a couple million people living there, and they don't have representation in Congress. They have a congressional liaison who doesn't get to vote in one. It's not even representative to their amount of population. So there are certain people, mostly Republicans, who've not wanted them to have representation in Congress. It was passed again in the House, and it looks like it may pass in the Senate for them to finally get that representation. So you might want to go read about that. Hey, no taxation without representation. Isn't that what America was founded on? They get taxed. They should have representatives and help you make the law. This past Tuesday was a busy day for me at Black Perspective. First, well, going backwards, the last post I did on there was the video that I did here at this YouTube site about Chris Brown, the first one, but also did some text and kind of discussed the phenomenon around people supporting R. Kelly after he did what he did. So you can check that out. I kind of detail some more information, get into that a little bit. The next thing was the stimulus that could have been versus the stimulus we got. The bill ended up passing, which I said in this post that it was going to pass later on in the week. I just talked about what I thought the stimulus could have been instead of what it ended up being, which was a hodgepodge a mural of a bunch of things just thrown together. Not a very congruent bill at all. This was an opportunity to where the leverage of all this money that had to be spent and the political will behind getting something done could have been used to reform many problems and many of the programs and systems of government and how we approach politics. And instead, it was just the usual piecemeal legislation with a bunch of special interests, capitulation, thrown together as normal, and it's basically the same old same. It's a big disappointment to me. It's not change I can believe in. It's the same that it's always been, and that's whatever that is. You want to read about it, check it out at the blog. The day before that, I did a post, or earlier that day also, I did a post called "Save Darfur" to help host an advocacy night to end violence against women in Darfur, and that's about us. The Save Darfur Coalition. They hosted a panel discussion that was webcast about violence against women in Darfur, Sudan. And a lot of people hosted local events in their local areas. We did one here in Nashville with my organization, Tennesseans Against Genocide. And what this is primarily about is whereas opportunistic rape where always happens where people, where men may rape women just because that individual chose to, there's of the last decade been a strategy of using massive rape within conflicts to demoralize communities, to break down the social fabric. It's actually a strategy, a weapon of war. So that's what this whole event was about. The article discusses that a little bit and gives you some resources towards finding out more about that if you'd like to do that. And the first post I did of the week back on Monday was a roundup of black bloggers' posts for National Black HIV and AIDS Day, which was the previous Saturday, but I did my roundup post about it on Monday. And I'm going to just read to you real quick something. So, the statistics on HIV and AIDS in America clearly show that all races are affected, but that ethnic minorities account for a disproportionate number of cases in most states. African Americans are particularly severely affected by the virus, and relatively high rates of HIV can be found in virtually every sector of the community. So anyway, I give a little information about that. Then I'll link you up with some other bloggers' posts about HIV AIDS in the black community, and also a PSA that was done by a YouTuber, Lisa Monique TV. Anyway, check that out. Everybody needs to be up on your game. Make sure you protect yourself when you're doing the dirty. You can't look at somebody and know whether they have a disease. AIDS is not dead. It's still not curable. They have ways of prolonging your life, but do you really want to live with AIDS? That's not really a good plan of how to go about it. I'll get it, but now they got pills to help me live longer, so it's not that big a deal. Yeah, it's still a bigger deal. Still millions of people living with it. Not something you want. It's still deadly. So protect yourself, know the facts, and hey, I'm Yobachi with BlackPerspective.net. Definitely subscribe here at the YouTube page or at the blog. You can subscribe at the blog either by putting your email in on in the left panel. There's a place where you can do that, or if you use a feed, you can get Black Perspective sent to your iGoogle or whatever feed you might use to check information on the web every day. And I'm out for now. Check you next time. Peace.